Hi, you guys. Miss Stamp here. This week we are still talking about Mexico, and we're going to read a book by one of my favorite author illustrators. His name is Duncan Donatiu. We also read one of his books last week called Dear Primo. So before we start, I want to talk to you about comparing and contrasting. We are going to be comparing and contrasting two characters in this book, but you can also compare and contrast different books, compare and contrast different settings. So I'm going to show you our anchor chart that we made during the school year. So remember, comparing is thinking about how are they alike or the same. Contrasting is thinking about how are they different or not the same. When reading, you could compare and contrast two or more things. So you could compare and contrast books, like we compared and contrasted Goldilocks and the Three Dinosaurs to the original Goldilocks and the Three Bears story. You could also compare and contrast settings, characters, topics, or you could compare and contrast if a book was turned into a movie or different versions of books. So today we are going to be looking at these two characters, Pancho Rabbit and the Coyote, and we're going to be thinking about how are they alike and how are they different. All right, Pancho Rabbit and the Coyote, a migrant's tale. So this book is about two animal characters, but also it touches on some ideas of immigration. We talked about immigration for our PBL, our project-based learning project at the beginning of the year, and how immigrants move from one place to a new place for different reasons. So let's see why the characters in this book might be moving to a new place. Pancho Rabbit and the Coyote, a migrant's tale. I just love the illustrations that he does. So cool. One spring, the rains did not come and the crops could not grow. So Papa Rabbit, Senor Rooster, Senor Ram, and other animals from the rancho set out north to find work in the great carrot and lettuce fields. There they could earn money for their families. Oh, so it immediately told us why they were going to work somewhere else. Why they had to move. Many harvests went by, and it was finally time for Papa Rabbit to return home. His family was preparing a big fiesta. Everyone on the rancho was excited to see him, especially Pancho Rabbit, his eldest son. I heard Mama telling Senora Duck that Papa saved enough money in El Norte so that he won't ever have to leave us again. Pancho told his brothers and sisters. They were helping Mama cook Papa his favorite meal, mole, rice and beans, a heap of warm tortillas, and a jug full of fresh aguamiel. So sometimes people don't move to new countries for good. In this book, it's the dad is a migrant. So that means he's a migrant worker who goes to the new country to make money because he can't make money in his own country. There might not be jobs available. And then he comes back with the money that he made in the new country. And it's pretty sad because sometimes they leave their families behind. Oh, so they're preparing for the dad to return, and they're preparing a big fiesta, a party. The musicians arrived and began to tune their instruments, while Pancho and his sister hung papel picado to decorate the patio. This is papel picado, cut paper. The rabbit's friends from the rancho began to arrive. They listened to the música, they ate some mole, and they waited and waited. But Papa Rabbit did not appear. He must have had a late start, said Mama Rabbit. Maybe the weather was bad and he had to find shelter," said Pancho's youngest sister. They waited some more, but still Papa Rabbit was not to be seen. When it was dark, the musicians and the guests said their goodbyes and headed home. "Your papa will certainly arrive by morning," Señora Duck told Pancho and his family. After waiting and worrying long into the night, the rabbit family finally went to bed, except for Pancho. "I have to find my father," he thought. He packed Papa's favorite meal, mole, rice, and beans, a heap of still warm tortillas, and a jug full of fresh aguamiel. He placed it in a mochila, backpack, to carry on his back and headed out. Pancho followed the stars north. After walking a while, he met a coyote. "Good evening, little rabbit. Where are you going?" "Good evening, Señor Coyote. I'm going north to meet my papa, who's been working in the carrot and lettuce fields," replied Pancho. "It'll take you days and days to get there on this trail," replied the coyote. "I can show you a shortcut. That is, if you give me that sweet and spicy mole you have. I smelled it a mile away." Pancho did not wish to give his father's mole away, but he missed him terribly. "As long as it gets me closer to Papa," he said, and he let the coyote have it. The coyote led Pancho to the train tracks. As the sun rose, he showed Pancho how to jump onto a passing car. The train was running so fast, poor Pancho almost fell off. They rode atop the train, zooming through the countryside. When the train slowed for a curve, Pancho and the coyote leaped off. "We must now cross this river," said the coyote. "Señor Coyote, I don't know how to swim," said Pancho. The water was murky and rushed by very fast. He was scared. "I can help you reach the other side," said the coyote, "but I will be exhausted after I do. Once we are across, I will need to eat the rice and the beans that you're carrying to regain my strength." "Fine," said Pancho, "as long as it gets me closer to Papa." The coyote picked up a tire that was junked on the riverbank. Pancho gathered all his courage and held on tight. Splash! They jumped into the river, and the coyote helped him float to the far bank. And although he did not want to, Pancho gave the coyote the rice and beans, just as he promised. So I'm starting to think about how the characters are alike and how they're different. So it sounds like Pancho is really wanting to see his dad, and he's giving the coyote all of his food, so he's kind because the coyote is helping him, but the coyote seems to be taking everything that Pancho has. So maybe he's being greedy. The sun was high in the sky now, and Pancho and the coyote walked on. Soon they reached a very tall fence that separated the south from the north. It was impossible to jump or climb over. "There's a tunnel we can use," said the coyote, "but the snakes watch it. If you give them the tortillas you're carrying, I'm sure they'll let us through." "As long as it gets me closer to Papa," Pancho said and sighed. The coyote talked to the snakes. They agreed to let them pass, but demanded every single one of Pancho's tortillas. Pancho and the coyote entered the tunnel. It was dark, narrow, and very long. Ooh, I love the colors that the illustrator used here, and look how tiny that little shack looks. It shows you how far they're having to walk and how hot it is here. When they emerged, Pancho and the coyote were on the north side of the fence. They were in El Norte. The afternoon sun beat down on them, and there was no shade. The coyote pointed to a hut in the distance. "We can spend the night there," he said. "In the morning, I'll take you to the great carrot and lettuce fields, and there you will find your papa." Pancho and the Coyote walked under the desert sun. Poor Pancho's feet ached. "Give me some of that agua miel you have, little rabbit," said the Coyote. "I feel dizzy. If I don't drink something, I will collapse and will never get there." Pancho gave the Coyote some agua miel. The sand and air were scorching hot, and Pancho felt dizzy too. He was very thirsty, and he drank the remainder. "As long as it gets me closer to Papa," repeated Pancho to himself in a daze. So here I'm noticing that Pancho looks a little scared, and the Coyote looks a little bit sneaky or mean. When Pancho and the Coyote reached the hut, it was dark. The Coyote built a small fire for light and warmth, because at night the desert is freezing cold. "I'm so hungry after all that walking," said the Coyote. "Do you have any more mole, little rabbit?" "No, Señor Coyote. You ate it all." "Any more rice and beans?" "No, Señor Coyote. You ate them all." "Any more tortillas?" "No, Señor Coyote. The snakes ate them all. There's nothing left, not even a drop of agua miel." "In that case," said the Coyote, "I will roast you in the fire and eat you." "Oh no, seems like he may be tricked. Poor Pancho Rabbit." Uh-oh. With a cry, Pancho leapt for the door. He was the fastest animal back on the rancho, and normally he could outrun the Coyote. But he was tired from the long journey. He couldn't reach the door. He couldn't reach the window. All he could do was huddle in a corner as the Coyote slowly approached. Suddenly, the door was thrown open. Who entered but Papa Rabbit, with Señor Ram and Señor Rooster. They soon had the Coyote racing outdoors and far away with his tail between his legs. "Panchito, mijo," said Papa Rabbit, and he gave Pancho a hug. "I thought I would never see you again." "A gang of crows attacked us," said Señor Rooster. "They took the money and gifts we were bringing back to our families and left us stranded in the deserts." "We heard your cries for help," said Señor Ram. "Your papa recognized your voice. We ran to you as fast as we could." "Papa," said Pancho, "I'm so happy to find you, and I know the way home now." So Pancho led Papa Rabbit, Señor Rooster, and Señor Ram home. When they arrived, there was a big fiesta. There was mole, rice and beans, warm tortillas, fresh agua miel, and música for everyone on the rancho. Pancho told his brothers and sisters about all the dangers he and Papa had faced. "Please don't leave us again," said the rabbit children. "We were so worried for you." "I don't want to leave you," said Papa Rabbit, "but the crows took all our money. If it doesn't rain enough again this year, and if there's no food or work here on the rancho, what else am I to do? I will have to leave again." "And I will come with you," said Pancho. "We will all go with you," said Pancho's brothers and sisters. "Let's hope it rains," said Mama. The end. So the author left a little bit, a long note explaining more about the story. So he said that in Spanish, the word coyote, I think it's pronounced coyote, has two meanings. It's the name of an animal, but it's also slang for a person who helps people get to the U.S. from the Mexican side of the border. So he also explains more about immigration, like we talked about with our PBL, and how people come to the United States looking for work because they don't have any work in their countries, and they might be really poor and need money to help their family survive, to get food for their family. and a house for their family. So now that we talked a little bit about all of that, I want to remind you that we are comparing and contrasting our two characters. So I want to show you a page that you can use. You can either use this page or you can compare and contrast the characters on your own paper. Okay. So here is the compare and contrast page for two characters. So you can write the names of the two characters at the top and then you can compare them. So how were the characters in the book alike? How were they alike? I think they were both animals. You can think they were both traveling in the desert. And then contrast them. So think about how are they different? And you can write in here how Pancho Rabbit was, and then on this side, how the Coyote was. So think about how they acted in the book and how they were different, okay? All right, that is all I have for you today. So we will keep reading more books by Mexican authors throughout the rest of the week. I'm so excited to read more with you. Bye, guys.